Hey guys, the Dan here with your weekly show Snapshot, where we here at GMA Ministries get together, take a look back at Pastors After Dark from the past week, and take a look forward at our Pastors After Dark show that's coming this next week. And so, super excited to be with you. If you're not following GMA Ministries, please do. We are a community of people that absolutely want to connect Christians together and people together, and primarily want to display the love of Christ to gamers and people online. And we do that in a lot of different ways. And so we appreciate you tuning in to Snapshot today. With me as my guest this week on Snapshot is Ern from FireResistant podcast. And I'm going to bring him in here. Ern, man, how you doing?
Great. How about you?
I'm doing wonderful. Introduce yourself and kind of what you do online and everything for the folks.
So, what we do here at the Fire Resistant podcast is we are a Christian talk show. We talk about everything from wrestling to Jesus. Wearing my what shirt, Stone Cold Steve Austin, but that's just kind of our way of stating that we talk just about everything. So we'll be talking about like this weekend's the Royal Rumble. So we'll talk about the Royal Rumble, but then someone will come in and ask a biblical question, and then we'll go that direction. So our ministry is the gospel, the presentation and defense, and just everything about the gospel. That's the front and foremost. So if you just pop in our stream just to ask for um, prayer, we will stop whatever we do and just pray for you, because that's exactly why we do what we do.
I love it. I love it. And I enjoy you guys' show. I actually despise wrestling. Well, whatever the little showy thing is with the little underwear.
Yeah.
I wrestled for like 8 years.
But you did the real thing.
But the real thing, the one
Yeah.
that is just awful, not the showy stuff. And I still like your show. So like you don't have to like men in underwear wrestling to like their show. It's still really
Well,
good.
let me clarify, just in case. We don't talk about wrestling all the time.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the motto is just wrestling and Jesus. That's just a way of saying, hey, we talk about everything, because
Everything.
I promise you, we don't talk that much
I
about
know. I haven't.
wrestling.
I don't think I've heard you guys talk about it
We
one
talk.
time.
So, like, I'm a huge UFC fan, so we
Yeah,
talk way more about UFC than we do wrestling. So,
it's awesome.
but I at least want to throw that out there. We don't talk about sweaty men pretending to beat each other up all the time.
Awesome. Well, you had an opportunity to see Pastors After Dark from this past week. I was actually on the panel, which is I'm not always on there. Tell me your takeaways, man. I mean, we were looking at this question of how should Christians speak, and had some sub questions and stuff in there. I mean, give me your thoughts.
So, it was I was very surprised that there was actually a wealth of of different opinions, right? But ultimately, everybody agreed, and the takeaways from it was, I took a bunch of notes I showed you beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
I actually learned some stuff, right? I didn't like the whole honoring each other. I took that to heart. I just didn't write it down. So, the Romans
Yeah.
12:10 that you said, and I believe Ferris was talking about gentleness. So, um, I took some stuff away, and I wrote stuff down. Like, the biggest thing that I took away was, right at the beginning of the Brandon thing. I'm not gonna lie. We're very transparent here. I got caught up in it. If you
Yeah.
go look at my Facebook around the time when it first started, you'll see a couple of Brandon posts. And then as I was listening to y'all talk about it, Ferris talked about a dude that had a sign up in his yard, and that if he ever ran across that guy, then that guy's not a Christian. Like that, like the label that would be above his head is not
Right.
Christian. It would be
Right.
the
Right.
sign guy, whether he was Christian or not. Be the
Right.
sign guy.
He would
And I was
identify him that way.
right. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a better
Yeah.
way. That was a way
Yeah.
better way to describe it than what I did. So, I actually, when he talked about that, I was like, I'm not gonna lie. I sat back, and my uncle, who it may or may not be a Christian, he took me to task. He's like, if you're a Christian, you shouldn't be put the Brandon thing on there. So I was like, you know what, you're right. So I stopped doing it. But when Ferris talked about this, I actually did sit back in my chair, and I was like, do people look at me as the Brandon guy for like that 2 weeks that I
Ooh.
was
Ooh.
that I participated? Yeah, I did the
Kind of
same
hurt
thing.
me,
So
man. Woo.
yeah, trust me,
Woo.
I felt the same way. You know how, where it's when you're in a room, it's cold, and then all of a sudden the conviction falls on you, you kind of get sweaty. That's kind of what
Sweaty in
happened
a
where I was
cold
like,
room.
yeah, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, what was I or am I the sign guy from about, I think it's about 3 or 4 months old. So about 4 months ago, people, and then after Ferris talked about that, and I'm talking about this specific section because it had the most impact on me.
Right.
Because right after that, Shadow was like, hey, we're supposed to reflect Christ.
Mm,
And if you're throwing down anti, whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, whether it's anybody, if you're being anti people that aren't saved, then like you're not reflecting Christ. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, what did Dan make me watch? What did he make me watch? And even you talked about Facebook where you had people in your church that were posting about it, and you
there, I
you
got your quote up there, by the way. Conviction is sweaty in a cold room.
it's true,
Yeah, yeah.
because you had mentioned Facebook post, and one of the things that you said is like I think it was I'm gonna misquote you, but you said something like we shouldn't be using the term "let's go" because it means,
It's a
you know,
euphemism.
it's a
Right.
euphemism for that. And then I wrote this down, not to completely call you out, but then you said you got to stop acting like a holes, and I was like, I was like,
That's
I
not a
was like,
euphemism. That's a
yeah.
direct quote.
I was like, is it okay to use? It's not okay to use random, but it's okay to say that.
Right.
And I wrote that down, and I was like, okay, he can take this.
I can
So,
take it.
but
So you can say this is the Baptist in me, ready? You can say ass because ass is in the Bible. Now they were always donkeys,
right,
but if you add the whole, we're in real trouble, right?
right,
Because now I'm
right,
off scripture.
right.
I'm off scripture.
Well,
So ass.
we had a similar conversation about that because it's about the way that you use it. Somebody actually
Yeah.
came in chat last night and said, "Why is using the word hell bad?" And I said, "It's not bad at all." I
Right.
said, "If you say, hey, if you don't know Jesus and you die, then you will go to hell."
Right.
Then there's the other way to use it where it's slang. There's a way to
Right.
use it where it's okay, and there's a way to use it to not use it where it becomes
Mhm.
culturally inappropriate.
Right. Agreed.
But I'm sorry. Oh, okay. But my take on that, right? My take on the Brandon and the sign and the conviction that I got was like, and you talking about how you preached against so I can't remember it off the top of my head and write it down, but you said something in the sermon about it, and like people left. I think is what the story and ultimately what it comes down to is America has become an idol, right?
Right.
America, the land, America, the politics, America, the people. We've let this dirt, this temporary dirt, become an idol,
Right.
and we let these things. And I say that because I did it because I participated in the whole Brandon ordeal. So I let that become an idol, and I didn't use it to reflect Christ because you can't.
Right. Absolutely. And there's so many good things about patriotism. I'm very conservative because I'm a believer who's kind of falls in mostly the reform camp when it comes to a theological stance, and so I like being conservative. I like being economically conservative.
Right,
All these things they're not bad things. But man, what we've watched is the idolatry in our hearts, right? And it's like, if you go all the way back to the Garden of Eden, to Genesis 3, what Eve is essentially doing is she's trading in the creator for the created things.
right,
So they're the things that he made. And she's like, no, I want those more than you, the one who made them. And in some sense, it's what all idolatry is when we go, nah, I'd rather have this thing that you made, God, rather than you. And it's just, look, it's just not okay. And I think
right.
that's really what it boils down to. So,
Yeah,
um,
there's a song out there, and forgive me, I don't know the complete lyrics. I'm gonna butcher it. My wife sings it. It's something to the effect of, "Don't love the healing, love the healer."
mm,
Where it's taking the focus off of w- you're looking at the action instead of the person who's creating the action, which is God at the moment. And I think that it's a really good song. I just don't know the name of it.
no problem. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I other takeaways for me were like having to take a hard look at what I allowed to influence me on social media, because who disciples you is a big deal.
Right.
And, discipling is nothing other than is really influence, right? Now, we would talk maybe about it being more intentional influence, or I want to be influenced by someone. But, when I'm thinking about discipleship, if I'm constantly consuming the social media feeds of someone, then they are in essence discipling me because I'm consuming it. And we talked about, basically what comes out of the mouth is an overflow of the heart. And so I had to go in and realize that there were individuals in my social media feed that not only did I have to unfollow, I had to mute. Like I couldn't even to watch or listen to their content, even when someone else liked it, was not edifying, and it just wasn't helpful. And so I was convicted. Ferris and I did Snapshot last week. I don't even know if we published it in time, but we're both a very stern, like extreme personality type. And so the thing that he and I talked about a lot was this verse, Philippians 4:5, which is let your reasonableness be known to everyone. And so that, we talked about the Greek is really, you could translate that as gentleness, and that would be appropriate. Let your gentleness, like basically, as a believer, I should be known. I should have a reputation for gentleness.
Right. Agreed.
And I don't. I do not. I hope that it's better to. In fact, I know that it's better today than it was 2 years ago. But like, man, I got this is not an exaggeration, and I'll get in trouble because I'm going to use the euphemism again. I was given a medal, like a medal you would get for winning a race or something, by the staff at my church that said "World's Greatest Cold-Hearted."
Oh, wow.
That was what they gave me, as in like, this guy's so stern, because I got things done. That's what my job was. I was the assistant. I was the associate pastor. My job was to get things done.
You were the enforcer of the
I
church.
I was I
Yeah.
was, and I relished it in a poor way, and I ran over a lot of people to get it done, and I was literally like complimented for it,
Right.
and so I read this verse and was like, it's all wrong. It's all wrong. It's not
Well,
glorifying to God.
if you don't mind me tooting your horn for you, whenever you respond, I don't get a lot of responses most of the time because most of my feed is memes because I like to make people laugh. But like whenever I do stuff or I say something, when you write something on there, I actually do pay attention because like I'm not going to bring up totally, but the last like drama that I got a part of, you came in there and you said something, I'm like, yeah, he's right. Leave me alone. So, so, so I left it alone. But I will tell you that just based off of what you just said, as far as the way it used to be and the way that you carry yourself in the Twitter world, it is a complete change.
Well,
I wouldn't think about giving you that button that you just said.
praise God. That button haunts me. I kept
Yeah,
it, so that it can
you should
haunt
put it
me in a
behind
good
you.
way. I don't want to show it any honor,
No,
right?
I'm just kidding.
I don't want
I'm
to
just kidding.
glorify it, but I want to remember it
Right,
as a cold, sort of sweaty in a cold room
right,
moment of, man, I know who I am outside of Christ. It's my job to submit to the Spirit's work in my life so that I'm not that guy.
right.
And so it is a work in progress. Now, one of the guys, and I'm going to put him up in just a minute, or his Twitter link in a minute, but one of the guys that had a profound impact on me, and probably has no idea he had such a profound impact on me, is Ray Ortland Jr. And Sam Alberry came out with a podcast last year called "You're Not Crazy," and it's gospel sanity for young pastors. That's what it's called, and it is the greatest series of information I have ever heard, ever. And it's done in the most gentle, calm, casual way of two buddies sitting around talking in the den. And it shook me to the core, and it completely changed whole portions of my pastoral philosophy and methodology. And they just walked through some stuff that some of it was revolutionary. Some of it was like things that I had on my whiteboard for 2 years, and they start talking about it. And I turn around while I'm listening and I read my whiteboard and I'm like, they're spying on me. Like I got to turn the
I
webcam off,
I am
right?
crazy.
Yeah, like what whoa. And they really focused on this verse Romans 12:10 in one or two of the episodes that I love, and we have been
Yeah.
instituting this like crazy. And it says, "Love one another with brotherly affection, outdo one another in showing honor." And they make this point. What I should be constantly looking for is opportunities to say, "Hey, Ern, I just want you to know that when you shared the gospel unapologetically on your podcast, that I know Jesus better because of what you're doing in your ministry. And I want to honor you for that because that deserves honor. And of all the things that we could honor, that deserves honor, first and foremost. And secondly, if I'm not willing, okay, I'm just gonna make this point, and this will change everything for me about Twitter. It did for me about Twitter and social media, and hopefully it will for other people. If I'm not willing to constantly be on the lookout of ways to honor people, why would they listen to my criticisms? I haven't
Yeah.
earned it. I haven't earned it. If I only pipe up when there's something negative to say, people just gonna tune me out. I earn the right to speak gently a correction by having found 10 opportunities to honor when I see Christ shining through their life. And then when I say, hey, that might not be it, they go, well, I know this really means something because he's constantly looking for ways to encourage me and honor me. But if I'm never willing to look at those things, I'm only willing to criticize, then listen, I just fall into a camp of sort of a critical spirit, and everybody just kind of tunes you out.
Right.
I mean, we just,
Right.
I don't, like that guy, all he's got is negative things to say.
Right.
And
And
we
we're
all
and we
know
and we're
somebody
in
like
such
that.
a yeah, yeah, I was about to say we're in such a small Christian Twitch community, like, when you say that, anybody that's watching this stream, there's names that's gonna flow through their head, and we all are probably thinking all the same names because that when you make a name for yourself, you've earned that label, which
Yeah,
is
I mean,
why yeah,
I don't. Yes, probably. Um, I I I don't think it's edifying in a public space like this to call out people, and I mean not even just in our little circle, but like there are more widely known, almost celebrity type pastors or Twitter people or whatever that
us.
if we drop, yeah, if we drop their name, people would know them. And I don't think it's edifying in this space. I don't think it's encouraging. I don't think it propels the kingdom forward for
Agreed.
me to take shots at them, even though I've muted them. And privately, I would warn you boldly about the things they do and the way they do it. But in a public space, I'm going to save my public space for honor as much as possible. And I'm going to tackle the problem, not the person, the problem of I think we just got the ratio of encouragement versus correction way wrong.
Right. And
Um,
you had asked me that question, or maybe you just talked about that question. And I sat down and, or not sat down, I was already sitting here and I'm looking at the tablet and I wrote my ratio. And
mhm.
and what the other thing I wrote down during the pads, you said you mute people that you don't like. And I was like, he just responded to a tweet that I put out there. So I'm not muted. So I'm not a negative person.
Yay! You're in the
So
circle of trust.
right, right. So,
Yeah,
but
okay.
ultimately, but I try, and maybe you can disagree. You can disagree with me because you have an outside looking in. But the ratio that I put down here is I think I'm 70% positive and 30% negative. However, I think the 30% came about over about a month ago. Like
Mhm.
normally I try and keep it like memes, just gospel related stuff, but you know what I'm talking about when I
Yeah,
say like
yeah,
about a month ago I got mixed up in that drama, and that's why I said 70-30, maybe even 60-40, just from the little bit that went on a couple weeks ago. But
sure.
normally I try to post Christian memes that will make people laugh because that's what I enjoy doing. So I think I'm right on the money with 70-30. And based off of what you said before we started our show here, I'm gonna get it up to 90-10,
I
maybe
like it.
95, maybe 95
Right.
5%, because
I love it.
I gotta keep a little salt in the diet.
You got a little bit, right? Right, but your salt will have a little more flavor,
Right.
right? When it's not all salt all the time. Like, we're
Right,
not
right.
Lot's wife, right? Like, we don't need to be pillars of salt.
Whoa, too soon, too soon.
Okay. Uh, I love it. I know exactly what you're talking about in that even without knowing some of the specifics of what you're referencing, I could in general have told you, hey, your tone changed a month or two ago or whatever,
Right.
right? Like without the specific, I'd go, hey, your tone changed. There's a really good brother. Love him. Gotten to do some ministry stuff with him online and everything. And I want to have him on the show probably this season. And someone in GMA was like, oh, you know, he's had some issues and stuff with some of the people here or whatever, some disagreements. I didn't know any of that at all.
Right.
And I knew there was a problem. And I only knew there was a problem because his social media started getting so negative, like consistently, like 90-10 negative. You know, they're all warnings, they're all rebukes, they're all rebuttals. So sometimes rebuttals, like, I don't know if they're subtweeting someone. Like, are you having an argument with someone? You know, like you've read those, right? You're like, is this in reference to something? I don't understand. When you're encouraging, no one wonders if you're, you know, if you're trying to reference, like, is he subtweeting me? You're encouraging. Who cares, right? Like
subtweeting Jesus.
Yes, yes. And so like I intuit, what are you inviting the non-believer into?
Right.
If 90% of your content is negative and critical and almost seems like it's aimed at someone, and then the outside world looks at that and goes, attractive.
Right.
I'd like some of that, Jesus, please. I mean, not at all. In fact, to the outside world, that does not look like truth. That's the claim, right? Everyone's excuses. I'm just about the truth. No, to the outside world, that looks like religiosity, pharisaical, critical hypocrisy. That's what it looks like.
Right.
And you can argue that that's not your intent. And I would actually say, I believe you that it's not your intent. I'm just telling you what it sounds like. And so the witness now is just a hot mess. It's a hot mess. All right. We probably said enough about that. Here, I will say this, and then if you have anything else, I would love to hear about last week. This is just my word of encouragement. I try to do one of these each snapshot. This week, if you're watching this week, consider opportunities to honor and encourage others, particularly, believer, when you see the gospel being lived out through someone. Say something positive. Say something positive. Right. Hey, brother, I just want to honor you because I see this and I see the impact, and I just want to let you know, man, that's awesome. That's so great. I went to a dad who was showing up at the gym. I own a CrossFit gym. This dad was bringing his like 16-year-old daughter because she needed to work out, and he was showing up at like 5 a.m. just so that she could work out. He was just sitting there, and about the 14th time he showed up, I just wanted to tell him like, hey man, I just want to honor you. Like the fact that you're committed to bring your daughter early morning, right? When you don't even want to work out, that's your daughter's gonna remember that, and I just want you to know that, right?
Yeah.
And do you know how impactful those little tiny statements are for people? Like they matter, dude. And we have that in us because we have God's Spirit in us, and we pass up all those opportunities so that we can go be critical. Like it's mind blowing. So my word of encouragement is consider opportunities to honor and encourage others this week. If we mentioned this guy a bunch because he's my superhero and I want to be like him when I grow up, but this is Ray Ortland Jr. And he's on Twitter, Ray Ortland. Go follow him. I cannot recommend the podcast You're Not Crazy enough. We've had every elder and every group coach and every group leader and our entire staff go through the entire thing. And we're eagerly anticipating season 2 when it comes out. It will change your ministry philosophy. It will have a profound impact on you. And it is a 180-degree pivot from Christian Twitter. Is that did I sell that well enough? I sold that pretty hard, right?
I'm pretty sure that your ratio just dropped about 20 points. I'm going to go from I'm going to put you into the 80-20, okay?
for next week on Pads, Sunday night. If you're not familiar with Pads, Pastors After Dark is a rotating panel of pastors, different backgrounds, different denominations, different doctrinal beliefs that will get together and discuss your questions that have been submitted. And they are discussing how Christians should view new Christian music. And your initial take on that, Ern, what do you think?
My initial take is most of the stuff, to my knowledge, is coming out as more like rap related stuff. I'm not a rap guy. I'm a rock and roll guy. Throw some Red or Disciple or even some Demon Hunter my way. That's more my style. But it's one of those things for me personally because I'm 41, right? I'm an old fart these days. So like, give me some music that's got some God honoring lyrics in
I
there.
feel attacked right now, Ern.
Well, fine.
I'm 40. I'm 43.
Fine. I'm at 60-40 now. Okay, bro. I just but no, when I say that, like, I used to back in the day, right? I would go to these crazy, secular concerts and get in the middle of the mosh pits and stuff like that. So, that's my background. So, just the stuff that's coming out. Here's what I tell you. It's Christian music. If you want to give it a chance, give it a chance. But if it's not for you, don't go out there and be negative about it. Just don't listen to it. Turn it off.
Let me ask you this then. This is probably a little more controversial. Maybe they'll cover this on the episode. Uh, should you let's say there's a song that your worship band is going to play at church. Should it matter? Should they go do the research of the doctrinal background of the individuals who have written that song or singing that song?
Here's what I would say. I would say let the lyrics speak for themselves. One of the things that we know is we one of the verses that Fred and I use a lot is Matthew 7, where Jesus talks about people that have called upon him that aren't actually saved, and they end up going to hell. So these people can write phenomenal music that is God honoring, but they may not be saved. So I would tell you to listen to the lyrics. One of the the issues that I've heard is the music uh, is kind of parallel. It's not vertical. You just make
Mm,
sure that the lyrics are God honoring. There's a lot of songs. Like there's a song that was played at our church this past week where instead of the artist could have used the word God, but he kept saying you. Like you are this, you are this, you are this. If you don't know what you means, then you're just listening to a song about you, right?
mm.
So I would say that make sure that the worship music is vertical worship, not when I say vertical worship, there's a band out there called Vertical Worship. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about the actual lyrics point to God and not to us. Like, oh, I need not I need you because that's a good song, but ultimately, but you get what I'm saying. Like, the lyrics are all about who Jesus is, what he did on the cross, and how awesome he is for what he's done. Um, there's a song out there where the lyrics are, if grace is an ocean, we're all sinking, right? That's powerful lyrics. Like that's just it's true. Yeah, yeah. I told the story a couple weeks ago. The song came on the radio, and like I don't like to talk about crying, but I'm like I'm on the way home. I'm like, well,
No, I gotta pull over.
Jesus and His grace.
Right,
Because when you think about it, like music is supposed like worship music is to worship Him.
him.
It is to honor him. We
It's
have nothing to do with anything other than just should be grateful that he saved us.
it's the old pastoral joke where the congregant comes to you after the service and says, "I really liked everything, but I didn't really like the worship today," and you're like, "Oh, it's a good thing we weren't worshiping you."
Yeah, yeah, but ultimately, as far as that goes, like the person that wrote the music doesn't really. I mean, it might matter. I don't know, but to me, it's all about lyrics. Like, are they God honoring? Yes, then praise it. Praise God for them.
All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
For more on this topic, for a whole panel, actually, kind of hitting all the different aspects of this topic, you have an opportunity to tune in Sunday night at GMA, which is on Twitch, and I think we're also streaming on YouTube, so on multiple platforms now, and see a panel of pastors talking through this subject and kind of taking your live questions. We'd love to see you. You can follow us on Discord, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Just type in GMA Ministries. Really appreciate Fire Resistant being here today. Ern is a buddy I like to watch on Twitch. Loves the Lord, loves Christians. I hope you're encouraged today. I hope the Lord is powerful in your life. And I hope that you continue to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit as God continues to transform each of us who are believers in Christ to be more and more like Him. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging in there. We'll see you on Sunday night at Pads.